Hello there and welcome to this week's edition of Crazy Critique, which is of course in keeping with the season. It is a Halloween horror film special. So I bid you good morning, good afternoon and good evening on this here's Hallows Eve, if you're watching. And in keeping with what I did last year, what I have in store for you this time, of course, is another double bill of classic horror films, which feature one of the best some of the best directors in the genre, and this director this time around is of course the most fabulous, and considering it's Halloween, how else can you go other than but for Mr. John Carpenter. So of course I'm going to start off with the most obvious case and obvious classic film of his in horror film to talk about. That is of course the 1978 classic slasher horror film Halloween. Now, come on, most of us tend to know the story of Halloween, but for those very, very few individuals who are not familiar, I will go through the basic plot of the premise of the film. So we set up with a character played by Donald Pleasance, who appears to be a psychiatrist who has been visiting a psychiatric ward for many years. He's been visiting an individual known as Michael Myers, who is an individual who, as a 6-year-old child, killed his sister. For what reason? No reason is ever really given. And through his visits over the years, he has concluded that this is not just somebody who he can't reach. This is somebody who should never ever be allowed to be released into regular society. So he's on his way there to effectively give out that opinion, and of course, what has happened? There's a storm going on. A storm has somehow managed to let free prisoners or patients, it's more appropriate, isn't it, from this ward, and guess who has escaped? It is, of course, Mr. Michael Myers. There we go. That is the setup. Of course, we then cut to a small rural town in America, where we focus on a community where Michael Myers originally lived and committed this crime. We focus mainly on a character played by Jamie Lee Curtis. I've forgotten her name, the character's name, apologies. But he focuses on her as our main antagonist. I think that's right. Terminology. And her group of friends in the community, where it would appear that she seems to be quite, not a prude, but sort of an individual who is not quite out as going as her friends, and her friends and their boyfriends, so to speak. So she spends most of her nights babysitting, so on and so forth, whereas her friends tend to be, well, splitting one way, getting busy. Apologies, that was terrible description. It wasn't as funny as I thought it was going to be. So yes, we have, because of the sort of nature, of course, and it's obviously the Halloween season, so lots of spooky and scary things going on with trick-or-treaters and so on and so forth. But obviously her job at that night is to look after some children. And guess who's coming back to town to stalk the neighbourhood? It is, of course, like I've just previously said, the individual known as Michael Myers. And obviously, so proceeds a cat-and-mouse game of killings. It is it's as stereotypical as it sounds, because it invented pretty much all the sort of tropes of the genre. Now, there's no doubt it isn't the first sort of film to focus on psychopaths, of course. This sort of film, and these sort of films of the era, the slasher films, do owe a big appreciation to particularly Psycho, and that is commonly known. I'm straight lifting this off many people's theses and writings and so on and so forth. But although yes, it isn't the first in that sort of genre, my God, was it the catalyst for the genre. Literally 2 years after this, you had Friday the 13th, and then 2 years after, was it 4 years after that? Nightmare on Elm Street. Those three there, you have your slasher genre. So what initially has made this film gave it such a reputation, and actually makes it still hold up today? Simply the premise, the simple premise of it. Out and out, it's 90 minutes long. As with horror, horror film needs to know when it overstays its welcome, and when it's getting to the ridiculous, where many of these sequels tend to go, and therefore lose credibility. But with this initial film by John Carpenter, we start off with effectively creating absolute, as one of the kids says in the film, he says, does the boogeyman exist? Well, in this film he certainly does. And he is a figure to behold because... sorry, don't just completely lost my thread there, apologies. But, like I said, there's many things to appreciate. Certain things... Actually, I watched this literally 2 nights ago again, just to have a rewatch of it, just to refresh my memory of it. And although there's certain things that aren't quite as scary as they would have been at the time, there's still certain things that are... Certainly, spoilers can be many spoilers. It's going to be spoiler-tastic, I will say, during this review. And it's a particular bit in the car, which even though you know he's there, still gets you, and it got me again. And there's just the fact that it's the way. Is it cinematography I'm looking for here? Is it cinematography? I think it is, isn't it? Yeah. Right. Here we go. The way the film uses making you think you see something, and although you definitely did see something, you've definitely seen something, but you're not quite seeing it fully in focus. So therefore, although you do know you're seeing something, you're never quite sure what you are seeing. Which is a great little thread of horror, of course, because never reveal you completely your straight away your threat, but do it in a way where you think you know what's going on, but then you don't really realise how much of a threat it is. So, fabulous work on the cinematography of glance things and stepping down bushes and going up sparse streets, and just the way the camera follows through houses and things like that. Fabulously done. John Carpenter is quite well renowned for doing his own scores for his own films, and the score for this film is not only a fantastic film score, or a fantastic horror film score, it is also, like I say, a fantastic film score, and a film score that is instantly recognisable, and you can go, that's from Halloween. That is how powerful the score of this film is. It is fantastic, it's a brilliant piece of music, and is unimitatable. It's the best way of putting it. It is truly superb. Jamie Lee Curtis, this obviously made a star of her, and it's not surprising to see why, because she has great, what's the word I'm looking for, great guts and great, you want to root for her. She is that sort of character, so therefore it's quite well written as well. The writing isn't particularly the most prominent thing and best thing about the film, but it does exactly what it puts. It slots it into slot B and so on and so forth. But I think it's a truly fabulous film, and although it's not my particular favourite of all these sort of classic horror films of the 70s or 80s, it certainly has its right and place in that in that plethora of classic horror films. And in terms of the modern slasher film, it is by far the daddy. It is the king. There's no doubt about it. So it's I think it's a fabulously entertaining film. Actually, Donald Pleasance is probably not as well respected for this performance as he should be, because it is a greatly subtle performance, and his conversations with the chief of police, who was the dad of one of Jamie Lee Curtis's friends in the film, some straight to the bone dialogue, and this isn't a sheriff who's going, oh yeah, what's going on here? I don't believe you. So he goes, right, okay, I'll believe you. Okay, it maybe sounds silly, but I will actually believe you, because you are a serious man, and I will take your threat seriously. So it isn't that thing where people go, oh, we won't look out, we don't believe any of you. He actually believes the guy who says there's a killer on his way, which is great. So yeah, Halloween, exactly the reason why the slasher genre is as big as it was, and still it's going strong. I was saying going strong to a degree, and why people are still remaking these films today. So there we go, Halloween 1978, John Carpenter directed and scored, brilliant horror film. Now, from what really made John Carpenter known to a wider audience, to a film which, in my opinion, this is 4 years later now, and we're taking a turn into the science fiction genre, or sci-fi horror, should we say. And for me, it is my personal favourite of John Carpenter's films. Now, I am a, for obviously reasons why I'm doing this video, I am a significant John Carpenter fan. I have on DVD, I have Halloween, Escape from New York, Christine, Escape from LA, so even about vampires, and this film which I'm about to mention now, which is The Thing. And so I'm no slouch when it comes to seeing John Carpenter and knowing John Carpenter's work. And I think this is his best film. And considering it is an actual remake of a 1950s sci-fi B horror movie, The Thing from Another World, is even something more astounding, isn't it? It's a remake that is what I consider to be a director's best film. I think it's one of the best films in its genre. And it got no audience at the time it was released. It's well known that Carpenter has said things along the lines of, what didn't help was like 3 or 4 weeks, well, quite a few weeks before E.T. had come out, which was a nice, friendly alien film, whereas he was making an evil alien film, and obviously foreigners weren't probably quite down for that, as they were the nice, friendly alien who wants to bring along peace and joy to the world. But for me, like I say, for the horror and the science fiction genre that it's in, it is truly, truly superb filmmaking, in my point of view. It's a great concept. Like I say, it's based on the book by John W. Campbell Jr., called Who Goes There? And like I say, it was in turn turned into a 1950s science fiction B-movie directed by Howard Hawks. But this film, from what I understand and read, stays true to more the original story of the book, and from what I've seen on screen, it's all the better for it, because I have also seen the 50s one as well, and it does stick into a lot of tropes, whereas this film, it goes, no, we're not doing that, we're doing this. We are doing this. And what the film focuses upon I don't even describe what the plot of the film is. The plot focuses upon an a US Antarctic research team who, at the beginning of the film, there is a dog being chased by a Norwegian helicopter, and a Norwegian shooting at this dog. And they're like, why is he shooting at this dog? It makes no sense whatsoever. They land the helicopter, the helicopter accidentally blows up, and he then tries to shoot the dog, accidentally shoots an American researcher, and then unfortunately, when he's about to take his next shot to shoot the dog, one of the American research teams manages to shoot him. Dead. So therefore, not really knowing exactly why this individual was trying to shoot this dog. So begins a rather interesting and weird film experience. What happens then is they go to visit the film principally stars Kurt Russell on superb form. He's on superb form as McCready. R.J. McCready. About the film, actually, this is one of the greatest casts. When I say greatest cast, what I mean by that, effectively, is you remember each individual character for different reasons. They each have their moment in the sun. So whether it's April for Brimley as Blair, the scientist, or T.K. Carter, or David Clennon, or Keith David, a child, imposes himself upon the film greatly. Richard Dysart, Charles Hallahan, Peter Malone. I'm just listing off the cast here. Richard Masur, Donald Moffat, Joel Polis, Thomas Waits, who's great at Windows as well, actually. Each individual had moments of dialogue that is very, very entertaining to watch and has entertaining moments to listen to. So great, memorable looking characters as well, but so different as well. So like I say, they go and visit this Norwegian camp to see what's going on. It appears what the Norwegians uncovered was this alien spaceship that crash landed, and they have managed to get something out of this spaceship. But what did they get out? They don't quite know. It might appear to be some sort of creature. Now we're slowly learning, aren't we, that possibly was this creature the dog? And so begins a film of distrust, is the best way to put it. It is a film of distrust and paranoia in a secluded location, in a secluded building, and those halls have never been so big and so small in equal measure, and trying to get away from something and trying to, well, it could be anywhere, sort of incident. Now, of course, what is quite notorious about the film is Rob Botting's makeup special effects, and that is by far fair enough, because they are fabulous, fabulous special effects, and some of the reasons why you enjoy this film as much as you do. Because although it is, some of the things are quite grotesque and disgusting, they're quite inventive more than anything else. They're brilliantly, brilliantly wonderful to watch and see what is Rob Boy going to put on screen next. Truly, truly superb alien designs. And interesting. I think a lot of it still holds up. There is one or two bits where you go, okay, but there was a couple of stop motion bits in there, and that's probably the reason why. There's actually a little bit of a guest special makeup effects involved regarding Stan Winston, who got involved in the film, because effectively Rob Bottin had so much to do on the film that he just couldn't undertake all the special effects needed for the film. So Stan Winston got involved with what was referred to as the dog alien effects, and they are, again, superb. Two masters at their absolute peaks of special effects and creature effects and makeup effects of any kind. Truly, truly a film to behold, just from that pure point of view. I'm going to the score of the film, actually, mainly because, as I previously said on my review of Halloween about John Carpenter scoring his own films, this is one of the few films he doesn't score himself, and it's scored by Ennio Morricone, who is obviously most well known for his Western scores, but this is a brooding, an almost John Carpenter-esque score. It's almost like Ennio Morricone went, I'll do a John Carpenter style music theme for this film, and it suits it perfectly well. And like I say, the film is even more atmospheric for that fact. Brilliant makeup effects, fantastic score. What else have we got? Obviously, great entertaining performances and memorable lines of dialogue from the cast and so on and so forth. So therefore, great credit has to go to Bill Langus, who wrote the screenplay. I just think it is truly, truly wonderful. And there's many moments in the film where it fools you. And that's the whole point of the film, isn't it? Because it's creating distrust among you and characters. And it's leading you up a garden path on many avenues, and you follow it. You go up that path. It is now getting the credit that this film deserves, and it is now renowned as one of the best films in the science fiction and horror film genres ever to exist. And there's not many films that have been able to do that. It is truly, truly a wonderful, wonderful film. And although I'll say maybe in certain aspects it is less scary, but it's shocking, maybe. There's many shocking moments. But I think it sounds great, it looks great, the performance of the cast is great. It is memorable. It is one of the most memorable films you will ever watch. It is, for me personally, it's one of my favourite films, like I said, of all time. Saw it as probably a teen, maybe about 13 or something like that, 14, and it left an impression on me. I'd like to think it is obvious from what I'm saying here and now. So, truly, truly wonderful, wonderful film. Please seek it. And John Carpenter is a director who's unfortunately, this film kind of didn't destroy his studio career or his directing career, but what it did do is put him off working within the studio system as much. And that's a shame, because this is, for my opinion, his best film when he had a bit of a budget as well. He had a 50 million budget film. For a film in 1982, was no mean streaks. He come off the back, of course, of like Halloween, where it cost him like, was it 600 grand, 700 grand, and made about a profit of 70 million or something like that. So he come off a lot of profit, and he got the budget for this, and it made nothing. It made back its budget, and unfortunately that kind of ruined his reputation within the studios, so therefore he wasn't a director to be hired anymore, which is a real shame. So please seek out John Carpenter's film, particularly The Thing and Halloween. But he's a great filmography, like I said. Escape from New York, again, is one of my favourite films of all time, and he's got some great other films to look at. And I thank you for watching if you have, because I've just completely destroyed the last part of this review. I hope you've enjoyed my Halloween double bill horror film director special. Many words in there. And I do hope to see and speak to you again. Hopefully I'll be doing another one soon. I've been completely off it recently due to other events going on and just sheer laziness. But yes, I thank you if you have for watching. I do hope you subscribe to me, and I do hope to see and speak to you again very, very soon. Have a very good Halloween, everybody, and I thank you for watching, and goodbye.